History is not first and foremost a list of information. History is actually a way of thinking about the past, about learning how to make sense of human experiences, about how we can explain them, how we can explain causal relationships, and about how changing our perspective teaches us to think differently about presumptions that we've had, our understandings of the past. My name is Govind Sreenivasan. I'm a professor of history in the department here at Brandeis. I teach early modern history, which is 16th, 17th, early 18th century history, primarily Europe, but I also teach South Asian history. I also teach the history of the Atlantic world, and I'm quite interested in world history, in global history, which is not just a way of covering space and covering time, but it's also a way of posing questions. To me, for students to come out of a class having been equipped with new ways to think about the human experience, new questions to ask, new problems to pose. It's important that they get the facts right, but it's more important that they learn how to think. And indeed, I think it's a large part of what makes history itself so rewarding as a discipline. This is 25 years that I've been at Brandeis, and I really love it here. First and foremost, students here are intellectually serious. That's enormously rewarding as an instructor. They expect to be challenged occasionally, maybe even to be entertained, and that's fine, but most of them are really here for the intellectual adventure. But I think it also makes the classroom experience for everybody that much more rewarding. I cannot get through a class without multiple questions. The other thing that I find particularly rewarding about Brandeis, scale really matters in terms of the quality and the character of the interactions that are possible in the classroom. There's a reality to the intellectual community here that I value, that I think students value, I think that all of us value here. I was always interested and remain very interested in the history of ordinary people. There is a kind of unacknowledged and difficult to recover dignity and even heroism in everyday life. And I suppose that's probably why I ended up working on the period that I did. It's always seemed to me that history is a way of, in a sense, capturing the full richness of the human experience and then striking differences, striking changes, what it means to be a person, how a person thinks, how a person operates. I think learning history is one of the most intellectually productive challenges that a student can experience. History is a wonderful vehicle for fostering greater global awareness. If I were asked why someone should come to Brandeis to study history, I would say because I think we've worked the balance out right. I myself am notorious for expecting a lot out of my students. But at the same time, the department is well aware of the fact that every student will have their own interest in history. We have consciously structured our major in such a way that there are lots of different ways to fulfill the requirements. But it actually represents a kind of a broader philosophy in that we want students to find their own pathway through the study. The students that I talk to, that we hear from, they have found history to be a kind of a powerful energizer along their way to whatever future it is they choose for themselves. And it's good to know that.